I didn't plan on falling for my stepbrother's best friend. Hell, I didn't even plan on having a stepbrother. When my mom married Christian's dad, I expected awkward dinners and maybe a few forced conversations in the hallway. What I got instead was a storm I never saw coming. Christian was everything I wasn't. Tall, athletic, naturally confident. He carried himself like someone used to being admired, used to people leaning in when he spoke. 21, already in his final year of college, living at home until graduation. He barely acknowledged me when I moved in, a nod here, a mumbled "hey there." We weren't close and I was fine with that. Until I met Liam. Liam was Christian's best friend, and in every way, his equal. But while Christian was guarded and stoic, Liam was magnetic. He had this effortless charm, like he was always in on some secret. The first time I saw him, he walked into the kitchen like he belonged there. He looked at me, really looked, and smirked like he knew I wouldn't forget him. He wasn't wrong. "So, you're the new stepbrother?" he asked, leaning against the counter, sipping from a water bottle like it was whiskey. Didn't expect Christian to suddenly have a sibling. I shrugged. Didn't expect to have a brother either. He grinned. Well, lucky me. That was how it started, small, subtle things. Teasing comments that lingered a second too long. A glance when Christian's back was turned. A touch that didn't feel accidental. At first, I thought I imagined it. Why would Liam flirt with me? He was straight, right? But Liam had a way of making everything feel like it was just between the two of us. Like he was peeling back layers without even trying. Christian, meanwhile, stayed oblivious. He had no reason to suspect anything. In his world, Liam was just his best friend, and I was just the awkward kid his dad married into. He didn't notice the way I tensed up whenever Liam walked into the room. He didn't see the way Liam's fingers brushed mine when he passed me a drink or how his eyes scanned my face like he was searching for something only I could give. One Friday night, Christian threw a small get-together. Just a few guys from campus, pizza, drinks, music. I stayed in the background, mostly ignored, until Liam found me in the corner of the living room, sitting on the arm of the couch, thumbing through my phone. "You always this quiet?" he asked, lowering his voice so it felt like a secret. "Depends who's asking," I replied, half smiling. He stepped closer. Too close. "Someone who likes getting answers." Christian called him from across the room, and Liam pulled away with a wink. It was the first time I felt real heat crawl under my skin. Not embarrassment, desire. Raw and pulsing. After everyone left, Christian headed upstairs, buzzed and yawning. "Clean up tomorrow," he mumbled. "Night." I nodded, pretending not to notice that Liam hadn't left with the others. He was still in the kitchen, sipping from a half-empty beer. I walked in, suddenly aware of how quiet the house had become. "You should go before he comes back down," I said. Liam chuckled. "Why? You scared he'll see us talking?" I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't playing tonight. His jaw was tight, his gaze sharper than usual. "This isn't just talking," I said, almost whispering. He placed the bottle on the counter and closed the space between us. "No, it's not." I could have stepped back. Should have. Instead, I stood still, heart slamming in my chest. Liam reached up and brushed a thumb along my jaw. My breath caught. "I've been thinking about this," he said, voice low. "About you." His hand moved to the back of my neck. His lips hovered just inches from mine. And then, a sound upstairs. Footstep. We jumped apart like the air itself had cracked. Liam backed away, wiping his hands down his jeans. "I should go," he muttered. I nodded, unable to speak. He was gone before Christian came back downstairs. I stood in the middle of the kitchen, heart still racing, the taste of almost still clinging to my lip. The next time it happened, there were no footsteps to save us. It started with a lie, small, harmless, like most lies seem at first. Christian had gone to a weekend tournament out of town. He asked Liam to stop by and check on me. Nothing formal, just make sure he hasn't set the house on fire. he joked before slamming the car door shut and speeding off. Liam showed up Saturday afternoon, uninvited but not unexpected. He knocked once, then let himself in like he belonged there. "Christian sent me," he said, smirking. "His noble guardian." I didn't bother pretending I wasn't glad to see him. We spent the first hour doing what people do when they're trying not to say what they want, talking about music school, how weird it felt with Christian gone. I made coffee. He leaned on the kitchen counter, watching me like I was something he'd never tasted but already missed. It happened just like that. One moment, I was handing him his cup. The next, his hand was on my wrist, pulling me closer. "You gonna keep pretending this isn't happening?" he asked. I didn't answer. I kissed him instead. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was every suppressed thought, every charged look, every second of tension between us, unleashed. His hands found my waist, mine gripped the back of his shirt like I was drowning. We made it to my bedroom in a blur of breathless laughter and rushed footsteps. Clothes hit the floor. Words dissolved. There was only the sound of skin on skin, lips on necks, the sharp gasp when he pressed into me, the way he said my name like a confession. It was messy. It was reckless. It was perfect. After, we lay there in silence, our bodies tangled, our breaths slowly sinking. Liam traced circles on my chest, eyes on the ceiling. "This is wrong," he said. I nodded. "But it doesn't feel wrong." He turned his head, looking at me like he was seeing the truth for the first time. "No. It feels like it's the only thing that's ever made sense." We didn't talk about what came next. We didn't need to. We both knew it wasn't a one-time thing. And it wasn't. Over the next few weeks, Liam kept finding excuses to come over, sometimes with Christian, sometimes alone. When Christian was home, Liam played it cool. When he wasn't, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. It was dangerous. Addictive. One night, Christian had a study group over. Liam stayed late. When Christian went to bed, Liam slipped into my room like a secret. He kissed me before the door even closed. We didn't talk. We didn't need to. The only language that mattered was touch. But it wasn't just sex anymore. Between stolen kisses and whispered moans, we shared pieces of ourselves. I told him about growing up in a quiet town where I never felt like I belonged. He told me how Christian once saved him from a fight in middle school and they'd been inseparable ever since. I asked him if he ever thought about being with a guy before me. He looked at me, half naked and flushed, and said, "No. But now I can't stop." I should have felt guilty. Christian trusted me. Trusted us. He never once questioned Liam's presence, never raised an eyebrow at the way we glanced at each other or how we both seemed to be in the same room a little too often. He was the kind of brother people dreamed of, thoughtful, supportive, loyal to a fault. And I was sleeping with the one person he considered family. One evening, we were all in the living room, me, Christian, and Liam. Christian was scrolling through his phone while Liam sat beside me on the floor, dangerously close. Our knees touched. I felt his fingers brush mine subtly, deliberately. Christian looked up suddenly and smiled. "Glad you two get along, honestly. Was worried it might be weird." Something twisted in my chest. I smiled back, trying not to choke. Later that night, Liam texted me one word. "Tonight?" I replied, "Yes." But as I lay in bed waiting for him, I couldn't shake the sound of Christian's voice. The ease in it. The trust. Liam slipped in after midnight. We barely said a word before falling into each other again. His kisses were urgent, his grip firm. But even as I held him, I felt the guilt press against me like a second body in the bed. Afterward, I watched him sleep, peaceful, unaware of the war behind my eyes. I wanted to freeze the moment. Keep it. But I knew I was holding something borrowed, something stolen. Still, I didn't stop. Neither did he. The night it all fell apart didn't start any differently. That's what haunts me most. Christian was supposed to be out late. A group project, some all-night study session he grumbled about before leaving with his laptop and headphones. Liam showed up less than 30 minutes after Christian left, slipping through the back door like he always did, smelling like clean laundry and anticipation. We didn't waste time talking. There wasn't any need. The moment the door closed behind him, his hands were on my hips, my lips on his neck. My room had become a place of ritual, a space where reality bent and the outside world dissolved. We made love like we were trying to erase the guilt. Desperate, breathless, greedy. There was no slow build-up tonight, just collision. Skin against skin. Mouths claiming, needing. I moaned into his shoulder, felt his fingers dig into my back like he didn't want to let go. When it was over, we lay tangled in the sheets, our bodies still buzzing. Liam reached for my hand, threading his fingers through mine. "This can't last," I whispered. He nodded against my chest. "I know. But I don't care." Neither of us noticed the front door. Neither of us heard the footsteps on the stairs. We didn't even react until the bedroom door swung open, violently, suddenly, and Christian stood in the frame. Frozen. His eyes landed on our bare bodies, on the sweat glistening on Liam's skin, on the way I scrambled for the sheets like it could somehow undo what he saw. For a second nobody spoke. The silence was deafening. Then Christian's voice, sharp and cracked. "Are you fucking kidding me?" "Christian," I started, but he was already stepping inside, face flushed with betrayal. "With him?" he barked, looking at Liam. "You're my best friend. You're supposed to be my brother." "Christian, listen." Liam sat up, reaching for his jeans, panic in his eyes. "No. No, don't you dare talk," Christian spat. "You came into my house. Slept with him in my house." I sat upright, sheet clutched against my chest. "It wasn't like that." "Wasn't like what?" he snapped. "What the hell would you even call it? A mistake? Some confused phase?" "It wasn't just sex," I said quietly. Christian laughed, bitter, broken. "Oh, that's rich. What is it then?" "Love." I opened my mouth, but the word caught in my throat. Christian shook his head, stepping back like we were physically poisonous. "I trusted both of you. You're my family. And you," he pointed at Liam, voice trembling, "you were my everything. I'd have died for you." "I didn't mean to hurt you," Liam said, finally finding his voice. "It just happened." Christian stared at him with something worse than anger, disappointment. "You think that makes it better? That it just happened?" He looked at me, eyes glassy. "You've been lying to me every day. Every time I asked if something was weird, every time I asked if you were okay, you looked me in the face and lied." I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, like shame was squeezing the air out of me. Christian turned to leave, then stopped. "You two deserve each other." He slammed the door behind him. The sound echoed like a gunshot. For a long time, Liam and I just sat there in silence. I finally spoke. "We should have stopped." Liam nodded, pulling on his shirt, eyes still locked on the door. "I think we both knew it would come to this. But we didn't care." "No," he whispered. "We didn't." The weight of Christian's rage hung in the room like smoke. The sheets no longer felt soft. Liam no longer felt warm. Everything that once felt intoxicating now felt contaminated. I got up, dressed slowly, my limbs heavy. "I need to fix this." Liam didn't answer. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor like he was trying to vanish into it. I didn't know where Christian had gone, or if he'd come back that night. But I knew the version of us that had existed before he opened that door was gone. And I wasn't sure what would be left standing after the fallout. Christian didn't come home that night. His room remained untouched, bed neatly made, closet door ajar, like he'd vanished mid-thought. The silence in the house was deafening, not just in volume but in weight. I sat on the edge of the couch until sunrise, the hallway lights flickering every so often, casting ghost-like shadows on the walls. Liam left around 3 a.m. without a word. He didn't say goodbye, didn't promise to call. He just walked out like the world we'd built between stolen moments had never really existed. And maybe it hadn't. By the time Christian returned the next evening, I was still sitting in the same spot. Unshowered, unslept, drowning in the stink of shame. He didn't say anything when he walked in. Just dumped his keys, dropped his backpack, and stared at me. "You're still here," he finally said. "Of course I'm here," I replied, barely above a whisper. Christian scoffed. "Didn't think you'd have the guts to stay." "I deserved that." He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it without grabbing anything. "You deserve a hell of a lot more." "I know." He leaned against the counter, arms crossed over his chest. "How long?" I didn't lie. "Since the night of your party. The one with the beer pong and the bad music." Christian exhaled slowly, like he was trying to push every toxic feeling out of his lungs. "You let me sit at the table with both of you. You smiled in front of me, laughed, acted like nothing was going on. I was scared." "You weren't scared," he snapped. "You were selfish." He was right. "I didn't mean for it to happen," I said. "But once it did, I couldn't stop." "And Liam?" he asked, voice quiet now. "Did he mean it?" "I don't know. I think part of him did. But part of him just liked the thrill." Christian stared at the floor, jaw clenched. "He was supposed to be my ride or die. My family." I nodded, eyes burning. "I know." He looked up, eyes glassy but hard. "You didn't just betray me. You erased me. Every time you kissed him, every time he touched you, you pushed me out of your world. I had no defense. Only regret." "I don't expect forgiveness," I said, voice cracking. "I don't think I deserve it." Christian was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I don't hate you. I want to, but I don't." I looked up, surprised. "That's the worst part," he continued. "You hurt me more than anyone ever has, but I still see you as my brother." Tears blurred my vision. "Christian." He held up a hand. "Don't. Not now." We stood in silence again, two people standing in the wreckage of a relationship that had never been given a fair chance to grow. Eventually he said, "I need space. I don't want you here when I come home from work. I don't want to see you around for a while." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I'll go." He stepped toward the stairs, then paused. "And Liam? If you ever see him again." I waited. He finished, "Tell him he broke more than just loyalty. He shattered who I thought I was to him." He climbed the stairs without looking back. I packed slowly. Not because I had much. Just because every shirt, every book, every small thing felt heavier than it should have. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to go. Liam texted me that night. One word, "Sorry." I didn't answer. He messaged again 2 days later. "I miss you." I left him on read. Because this wasn't about missing or loving or lusting. This was about what we destroyed. And some ruins can't be rebuilt. Weeks passed. I found a room in a shared apartment across town, took extra shifts at a coffee shop, started rebuilding my life in silence. One afternoon, I passed Liam near campus. He was alone, walking with his head down. He looked up just in time to see me, and for a second, everything froze. He offered a weak smile. I didn't return it. Some loves aren't meant to be stories, they're meant to be warnings. Christian and I spoke months later. A short call. No shouting, no tears. Just two people trying to stitch together the scraps of something once called brotherhood. "We may never be the same," he said. "But I don't want to hate you forever." That was enough for now. Because healing isn't clean. It's jagged like glass that cuts while you pick it up. But it's still better than bleeding forever. And as for Liam, maybe he loved me. Maybe he didn't. But love born from betrayal always leaves a scar too deep to ignore. So I let go of Liam, of the fantasy, of the guilt that had lived in my bones. And I walked forward into a quieter future. Alone but honest. Finally.